Hello, hello, and welcome to the Continuity Report for August 17th, 2024. It's Season 1, Episode 32. I am Mayor Watt, and that is the visualizer for the Sentient AI from the future.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens, and welcome to the Continuity Report.
So we're going to be talking about the best sci-fi movies about Mars, detecting offside rule breaches in soccer, Only Murders in the Building Season 4, a hidden Jack Skellington in all movies, James Bond parodies, a time travel movie with Jake Gyllenhaal, why Disney is succeeding while others struggle, more news from D23, why Disney really plussed itself good, and Slow Horses Season 4. Everything's powered by ohmTown.com. So go over and become a citizen, but be sure to follow us here on Twitch and over on YouTube. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, tell a friend, leave a comment, join us on Discord, follow us on the Patreon. There may be some big news coming about the Patreon, but we'll announce it, but once it's enacted, I think we'll probably stick to that. Everything's powered by ohmTown.com, so go over there now. So, like with all of the shows, I throw at the very top, nowadays at least, the show notes. So if you type in !TCR, the Continuity Report, ohmTown will throw out all of the links that we're going to be talking about today. If you type in !pod, it'll list all of the podcasts. We have, 7 total. And if you we're about to have 8, but that one's coming up in about a week with an update. So we'll see. And then if you do !show notes, that will give you all of the syntax to draw the show notes from ohmTown, or ohmTown, the bot that powers ohmTown. Anyway, let's get into today's articles for the Continuity Report. 10 articles, various sources. The first one is the 10 best sci-fi movies about Mars. And you know what? I'm just going to go straight over to the source. So Stephen Holland over at ScreenRant.com put the article together. And, the way that this works is ohmTown is a news aggregation site. And hello, Numplex. And if you tell me that you will allow me to say whatever you say in chat here in the stream, I'll repeat it. And then I'll answer your question or make a comment. But I always ask for permission first. Since I don't post it live on the stream, I just make sure that everybody's cool with it. Anyway, so the 10 best sci-fi movies about Mars. So we aggregate a bunch of news from around the world. We only get a little snippet of it. We don't aggregate the whole thing. We don't screen scrape, but we get a whole bunch of news because I need to manage my information overload. So we funnel everything into 6 main categories, 50 channels, and then we talk about right now, a holistic show called Non Sequitur News, and then 6 additional shows that are podcasts, just like Non Sequitur News is a podcast. If you go over to wherever you catch pods, you can pull up ohmTown and it will have all of our shows. Over on YouTube, it's the same thing. There's playlists for each podcast, and there is the main feed with all 1,100 or so article or shows, episodes that have been put into reality since 2.5 years ago. So with that in mind, we always link to the source and we talk about it. And it's kind of like a reaction video, but it's done live and we don't edit post. And so whatever reaction we have is our true, honest, and forthcoming reaction without any edits or plans or nothing. It's all a riff. It's all a vamp. So Stephen Holland over at ScreenRant.com put this article together. And their summary is a narrative potential of Mars has fascinated sci-fi lovers through history, inspiring alien exploration and discovery films. Mars has been depicted in movies as the most comparable planet to Earth, offering commentary on the universe's vast unknown nature, and films like The Martian and Total Recall, that answers your question, Numplex. I really dig The Martian, and Total Recall is a blast. And what's really funny about both of these is they're kind of jokingly reality, and I'll get to that here when we get through this. So Total Recall explore Mars's potential for human life, addressing themes like authoritarianism and survival. And you'd have to flip those two, because there's no authoritarianism in The Martian, and there's authoritarianism and survival in Total Recall. Just survival in The Martian. Anyway, and I'm pointing at my screen. So at any rate, so what do you think? A question in chat is, what's your favorite in this list? So John Carter is from 2012.
Well, it's probably going to be The Martian, I'm thinking.
Oh, really? Okay. So John Carter is quite an interesting video or movie, because nobody knew what the hell it is. Nobody. But it's a really cool story. It would be a whole lot more fun if it would have been, the world building would have been preempted with some more data, or front loaded with some more data. John Carter coming out from Disney, it's basically like, what is the cartoon movie with the
Mars Attacks?
No, it's not Mars Attacks. The To Infinity and Beyond, the Buzz Lightyear.
Oh, Buzz Lightyear and Toy Story.
Yeah, so Toy Story was great. Came out from a vacuum and just crushed it, right? And then they did it again, and then at some point they released Buzz Lightyear, but there was zero following behind Buzz Lightyear, and it was basically a non-starter. John Carter is kind of like that. Amazing world building capabilities. The story was really great, but no. It says John Carter was a fun story about Civil War soldier who was transported to Mars, where he became entangled in a long-standing war between different factions of the planet. Released a few years after Avatar, John Carter promotion made it seem like a lackluster ripoff rather than a visually impressive adaptation of the acclaimed Barsoom series of novels by Edgar Rice Burroughs. And I can't remember the actual name of this. It was something about the Warrior of Mars or something like that. It's John Carter and something else. So, so Blade Runner, right? Let's see if that actually lines up with this, because in chat it's mentioned Blade Runner. And I would say that Blade Runner is the best, I'd say, sci-fi film, and I think it is visually massive. The only one that would probably come close to this, but it goes like way over the top, is Dune, the new version of Dune. It's way over the top, like it's just massive in scale.
Yeah.
But I'm also kind of, and this is sci-fi movies about Mars though. So the movies that are listed in here may not, or the movies that I might like as sci-fi greats probably aren't in here, but let's see what happens. So Mission to Mars is number 9. Last Days on Mars from 2013, which I haven't actually seen, I don't think. Red Planet, that was a fun watch. That's from 2000. Flash Gordon's Trip to Mars. Flash Gordon was fun. This is the 1938 version, or the original, really, which I haven't seen, but Flash Gordon would be a fun watch. The Angry Red Planet, which again I haven't seen, it's 1959. And Aniara is from 2018, which it says it's a Swedish sci-fi drama based on a poem by Harry Martinson. It says here that
I haven't seen most of these so far.
yeah, this is a movie list that you should probably write down and watch so that we can actually have a more involved discussion. Aniara was a deeply philosophical film that embraced the existential nature of humanity, carving out a new existence away from Earth. Yeah, the two astronauts on the Starliner are kind of doing that right now. Robinson Crusoe on Mars, 1964. Yeah, never knew these were all out there. Yeah, I agree. Robinson Crusoe on Mars, I didn't even know existed.
No.
1964. Total Recall, there you go. 1990. And they've made a remake of it. Paul Verhoeven, it says it's directed by Paul Verhoeven, which I think is actually one of the characters in the script as well. And then number 1 is The Martian. So Ridley Scott. And what's really interesting about The Martian, and I guess in a way Total Recall, is that they're finding actual water on Mars. And so,
oh, right. We just had that in maybe in Technology Today.
Yeah. And I always joke, aliens are, all you have to do now is find your way down to the atmosphere generator and just put your hand on it and you're good to go. Because it's like 2 miles down or something like that. And there's just no way to get the water. And then The Martian is we're actually discussing the whole reuse of refuse to basically make potatoes. As a legitimate process to make food on Mars because certain things lack nutrients, and well, I guess that's what we're going to be. We're going to be having potatoes. So poutine is going to be a completely different context.
Too soon.
Martian gained widespread acclaim and was one of the best movies of 2015 with equal parts comedy and drama. The Martian felt both tense and lighthearted as it told the story of an astronaut botanist surviving alone on Mars, much like the 2 astronauts on the Starliner. Moving on. Next article. Too soon? Too soon AI?
Oh, very soon. It's still going.
Yeah, it's ongoing there, Merwatt. So the next article is over in Smack Talk, and we tried not to spend too long on a single article because we value everybody's time and we want you to get the information, follow the links, go and check out the articles, and then the next time we stream, we can have a conversation about the various things, or over on Discord or on the website itself, or in the chat, wherever. But we try not to just focus on one, but sometimes Merwatt ends up on a soapbox and goes off on a tirade. It's just part and parcel to the experience. So this article is over in the Smack Talk channel. Dozens of iPhones will be used to detect offside rule breaches in soccer matches. The only reason why this is, I chose this because it's, what's going to be interesting about this is that it's video assist for referees in favor of a new one which uses dozens of iPhones to capture high frame rate video from lots of different angles to see if something is...
Isn't this interesting?
Offside. Yeah. So the English Premier League is ditching its current system of video assist for referees in favor of a new one which uses iPhones. Yeah. I guess because it can do a high frame rate capture and is in high enough resolution. So the article is over at 9to5mac.com. Ben Lovejoy is the author of the article. And the offside rule says that a player cannot receive the ball from a fellow player while in the opposing side's half of the field unless there is at least 2 defending players between them and the goal. And this can include the goalkeeper. So if they come deeper into the system, into the field. So the rule is intended to prevent a situation where a player can just hang out near the opposition's goal, waiting for an opportunity to receive the ball. I actually saw a play where somebody lagged behind and apparently met the rules, but they actually picked up the goalie's water bottle and took a drink. And it must have messed with their mind, because I would have noticed, like if I was the goalie, I would have noticed somebody standing right there, but apparently not. And they caught the ball as it was mid pass to the goalie and scored.
Wow.
Yeah, that was just rather brazen. And I didn't know like how that didn't fail the offside rule, but I guess more people were downfield. So it says offside is hard to accurately detect. One major criticism of the offside rule is that it's almost impossible for the referee and other officials to accurately detect breaches, and it's because everything is so massive. And it says those cameras are costing. So in chat, I didn't get permission to say their name, but so, and they're the cameras are costing hundreds of thousands of dollars. Can't do that. Yeah. Those commercial level cameras, they're costing hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay. Thanks, Numplex. Appreciate it. And so Numplex asked.
So this will be more feasible to use the iPhones because they have such high camera quality?
I suppose. So Numplex made that statement about the cameras costing hundreds of thousands of dollars. Can't do that. It doesn't make sense to me either, because they should be higher resolution. They should be faster than an iPhone. But I suppose having 20 of those versus only 5 of these super expensive commercial cameras, they need it for broadcast, not necessarily that angle of attack. Again, it's basically like, what is that called? The high-speed cameras that encircle a scene in a movie, and so they can bullet time cameras. They're basically creating a bullet time system so that they can look all the way around the field and see if something is offside. And it was something that I had proposed a long time ago for American football, because dragging the chains around and interpretation of ball placement and all of that kind of stuff led to people just having to accept what a referee does. And I'm rather, in that particular instance, an inch can make a difference between success and failure of a play being driven down the field. So I'm all for tech. Like I proposed using field level GPS radio frequency to monitor where a ball is. And people that I talked to about it, they just kind of lost their mind. No way, you cannot do that. It's going to ruin the game. So Numplex says, yeah, so it's more about the angle than the resolution then. Yeah, it's more about awareness of where all of the players are at a given time, because one person further down the field kind of obliterates the need of the offside rule, because you're no longer offside. But refs can only see so much because their field of vision is only, so many arc seconds. And so they can't see beyond their peripheral. And it can make a difference because somebody moves, but it's their job, And this kind of stuff, when they lean on technology to invalidate human perception, it's going to change the nature and speed of the game. And some people are going to take exception of it. So enter dozens of iPhone 14s. The new system known as Dragon is now being introduced, which I swear we've talked about Dragon before somewhere else. It uses dozens of networked iPhone 14s to capture the action from multiple angles and uses AI to provide a rapid finding. And the referee will still make the final call, but they're basically going to look at a field of data set and go, yeah, or nope. But it's going to pause the game because they're going to have to stop unless they say that this is all live play. And the clock really, with soccer or non-American football, the clock is always running as far as I understand it. So, I mean, like, somebody has to take their Cybertruck and drive out onto the field to stop the clock.
Right.
So high frame rate shooting is key, as the critical moment may fall between 2 frames when video is shot at 50 frames per second. The iPhone system, in contrast, can capture at 200 frames per second. AI is used to ramp up the frame rate when needed. So there you go. Gone are the days. They're taking referee jobs now, AI.
Well, exactly. I mean, why would you need a referee? And how is this, is this going to be, how is this going to be fed to the referee or whomever? Um, I guess it's all going to happen pretty much instantaneously. And then you won't have all these things like where you have to go back. And I mean, think about the Olympics appeal with the gymnastics match.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, that was brutal. So I guess with this, unless somebody files a complaint at the time, it's just going to keep on going.
Right. Maybe it's just there, but you're not really relying on it, but you've got it if needed. So maybe it's more for that process.
Yeah. And with dozens of iPhones, they'll be catching a lot of the data instead of relying on the ref and the quasi camera actually doing double duty.
Right. So, and the person or the camera may not be at the correct angle to really see it, as we've seen in some sporting events.
Yeah. Let's keep going. The next article is over in the continuity report. Only Murders in the Building cranks up the star power in 4th season trailer. This is kind of a sleeper hit for me because I did not want to watch Only Murders in the Building because I thought that it would be leaning more on the star power than actually the storytelling and the writing and stuff. But Steve Martin, even Sting, Amy Schumer, I guess, is in it. This is a blast. So it says Hollywood was always encroaching on the edges of Only Murders in the Building in its quirky New York world. Charles Hayden Savage, aka Steve Martin, is a semi-famous actor, and Arconia tends to attract highbrow residents. Sting, Amy Schumer, movie star Ben Glenroy, aka Paul Rudd. After years of cleverly deployed cameos, at least season's Matthew Broderick episode and the Only Murders in the Building 4th season trailer has gone full Hollywood with a cameo parade of actors playing themselves and actors playing characters, and, well, with an actual trip to Hollywood. Apparently this trailer kind of crushes it. So, let's see. Which should take priority, the number of job openings for referee or the accuracy of the match that the entire world is watching? Depends on if you're the fired ref. But it, like my statement about American football and wanting to use GPS and actual line of sight cameras like this to see exactly where the ball is at all times and where the line of scrimmage is so that you can get offsides and stuff like that, just like the soccer match technology. I'm all for speed and accuracy. I want a hard-hitting game. I want good competition, but I want the game to move. So when a ref does a stupid call and it invalidates the actual integrity of the game itself, I don't want a ref involved. I want the game to just be, speeding along at a nice clip. So, yeah, I'm all for technology making it just a fun game to watch and not some interpretation and then the ref has a bad day. They got in a fight with their wife, or somebody is sitting there saying that they suck, and so they make a call that is partial to somebody else's team instead of the right call. I don't want that bias, and it just makes it a real garbage type of event. So yeah. Oh, seconded. So cool. Guess I'm doing it right. So this article is over at AV Club. Mary Kate Carr put the article together. The deck statement says Only Murders in the Building Season 4 trailer introduces guest stars. Eugene Levy is going to be in it. Oh my God. Melissa McCarthy, Zach Galifianakis, and more. I wonder if Zach Galifianakis is going to do Between Two Ferns kind of a thing.
Oh, no.
That would be awesome. For whatever reason, I love Between Two Ferns. It's just indignant. It just does not care. So Only Murders in the Building is about as star-studded as a trailer can be post-Barbenheimer. First, there's our heroes, Charles, Oliver, Martin Short, and Mabel, Selena Gomez. Plus, they've got Eugene Levy, Ava Longoria, Zach Galifianakis playing themselves, studying to play Charles, Oliver, and Mabel. Oh, this is spoilery.
I know, I was getting nervous about this. I think we're okay at the moment, but this could be a problem if it says something like somebody was killed off, or... Because we've only watched through season 1. I mean, this is just saying we got some characters. I'm not too worried at the moment.
Okay, but they say first there's our heroes, Charles, Oliver, Martin Short, and Mabel, Selena Gomez.
Right, that's our main protagonist.
Yeah, except that they didn't mention Steve Martin.
They did, Charles.
They didn't put it here.
They already identified him above.
Oh, really? Is that okay? So, and then there it says elsewhere. There's Meryl Streep returning as the now successful actor Loretta to proclaim actors are investigators, which is more or less a tagline for the series because that's what ends up as Only Murders in the Building. If you've never heard of this, by the way, basically a murder.
It's worth looking at.
What originally... Oh, see, even talking about it is spoilery.
The first episode, you'll love it or hate it.
True. Yep.
But you'll know immediately if it's a show for you.
Yeah.
Which is nice, because that doesn't always happen with every show.
But even talking about the very first kind of... Because it says Only Murders in the Building, you don't know that it's a murder.
Well, you do now.
I know, it's spoilery.
You can kind of say, because I think you get some of this from the original trailer. You've got basically these disparate apartment residents who've really not crossed paths, and then they start
working together.
Leave it at that.
Yeah. So you'll have to go and watch the first episode. And so everybody on the internet, go and watch the first episode so that we can start talking about this damn show.
And we need to catch up, I guess, on the other seasons. So
yeah, we definitely
we don't run into a headline that we go, what?
Yeah, because we've been holding off watching the rest of the show because basically we want to know what's going on with this next season and then just binge the hell out of it. So.
Right. Like you want to watch it kind of in a short span of time.
Yeah, you really don't want to watch this show in once a week kind of a thing. You want to just crush it. So we've been waiting for season 4 to start up so that by the time we get to season 4, we've gotten to watch all of it. Yeah. First season was really great. So we've actually been holding off waiting for 2 more seasons. Okay, we need to keep moving. The next article is over in Wanted. A Nightmare Before Christmas, Henry Selick hides Jack Skellington in all his movies. Didn't know about this. The Pumpkin King is also an Easter egg popping up in Selick's other films, including Coraline and Wendell and Wild. I did not know that. Laura Siricole over at Gizmodo.com put the article together. If you've never seen Coraline, you really should. It's a fantastic movie. It's a lot of fun to watch. Wendell and Wild, though, I don't know. If you look very carefully, you might find that there's some image of Jack in every other film that Selick has made, but they can't legally say that it's true, but it might be true. So, Nightmare Before Christmas was Selick's directorial debut. He went on to make James and the Giant Peach in '96, Monkey Bone in 2001, Coraline in 2009, and Wendell and Wild in 2022. I haven't seen Wendell and Wild yet. Many of his films share similar stories of alternate worlds and realities, and it makes sense that there's some cross-reference or Easter eggs in them. So he hinted that Coraline fans who look carefully at the breakfast scene might see the eggs that the other mother cracks resemble the famous King of Halloween. In James and the Giant Peach, the caption of Skeleton Pirates looks like Jack, and is even referred to as Skellington, and in Wendell and Wild, he pops up in the end credits. So, spoilery.
Interesting. You got to go back and watch all those, or watch them for the first time.
So Coraline marks its 15th anniversary this year, and it is currently enjoying a limited re-release. Coraline also scored great success with a re-release last summer. As for any chance of sequels for the memorable films, which Disney is known for doing, Selleck told Games Radar, which I guess this is sourced by, it's been discussed, but he isn't interested. So one and done. See, but I think that there's tremendous world building potential.
Oh, there absolutely is. But maybe because it was such a hit and everything, maybe they just want to leave it as is. I mean, I think they could definitely continue it.
Yeah, it would suck for somebody, for I guess the public to just kind of push that it's a money grab when it's not.
Right.
There's stories
to
tell.
Or like if they turned it over to somebody else to do, I think that would be disastrous.
Oh yeah,
it'd have to be on par with the original.
Absolutely, yeah. Anything short would ruin the reputation, Selleck's reputation. Let's keep going though. The next article is over in the continuity report. We have quite a few articles left. Actually, we got like 6 or 7. 6. This is over at the continuity report. 10 best James Bond parodies, and they're ranked. I'll go through these pretty quick. Ben Sherlock over at ScreenRant.com put this article together. Their summary is spy spoofs like Austin Powers and Kingsman brought humor and fun back to the genre, poking fun at Bond movie tropes. Archer and Johnny English offer comedic takes on arrogant spies, creating characters that are both silly and endearing. And spoofs like the Tuxedo OSS 117 and Carry On Spying blend action and humor to create memorable parodies of the Bond franchise. So this should be pretty fun. Kingsman was a blast to watch. All of the Kingsman series was, and I don't think that it's so much of a parody. There's parody within it, but I don't think it was trying to parody.
Right.
And Austin Powers, though, yeah, for sure. So
Johnny English, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. So Spy Hard, absolutely. Leslie Nielsen, they should have sainted that person, you know? I mean, Leslie Nielsen was a blast and actually came from more serious groundings. Like his foundation was serious.
Which is astonishing. I only know of him from the silly movies.
Yep. So it says, after spoofing disaster movies and police noirs, Leslie Nielsen turned a deadpan comedic lens to the Bond franchise with the massively underappreciated Spy Hard, Naked Gun, Airplane, just hilarious. Like everything about it. Everything that I think he's ever been in. Naked Gun was hilarious. Spy Hard was a blast as well. It says, but it has gotten more laughs than its dismal 7% Rotten Tomatoes score would suggest, and that's because people just don't have a damn sense of humor. You're not supposed to be serious about watching anything with Leslie Nielsen in it, for crying out loud, even in any serious role.
Right.
Just start giggling, because that's what it provokes. I mean, Airplane, for crying out loud, is a laugh riot from beginning to end. And he's not in it like perpetually throughout it.
No.
He's not the star. So Nielsen stars as Dick Steele, Agent WD-40, who must track down a megalomaniacal general bent on destroying the world. Yeah, it's a blast. I love that. So the Tuxedo. So Jackie Chan was in the Tuxedo. If I recall correctly, he finds the tuxedo and he basically becomes a special agent. Grants the wearer special abilities to complete his assignment. Chan is one of the masters of comedy action, seamlessly blending high-octane Tom Cruise style stunts, which I wish they wouldn't parallel Tom Cruise style stunts. Jackie Chan.
Wait, how about just say Jackie Chan style stunts?
Yeah, because he is like
he's his own. Right,
man.
Exactly.
Yeah. He's the stuntman, you know. When the stuntman won't take on the risk of doing the Jackie Chan stunt, Jackie Chan is the one that takes on the stuntman's stunt.
Right.
So I think, if I remember right, there's some stat where he's broken like every bone in his body except 2 or something like that, or there's only been 2 years where he hasn't broken something doing stunts. Numplex says in India there's a film called Shaan, Shaan, that attempted to emulate the James Bond villain Ernst Stavro Blofeld, but it turned out to be so poorly executed that it's difficult to even express how bad it was. Yeah, I like that. This is so bad, we can't even say it aloud, you know?
By the way, he has broken every bone in his body, apparently.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I am not surprised. So, and it says with Buster Keaton style slapstick comedy, but Buster Keaton, just because I really like to put the context of stuff straight, Buster Keaton did all of their stunts way before the sophistication of modern stunt work. And there's a Buster Keaton video out there where the side of a house falls over.
Oh, okay. That was his. Right.
And they bolted his shoes to the ground so that he wouldn't move from that exact spot. And he still got hurt because it skimmed his hand.
Right. The house fell over him basically with the door opening or something around
window.
him.
Yeah, it was a window. Yeah.
Window. Yeah.
So it had like a 2-foot opening, and he was just standing straight there when it fell over. I mean, it's just amazing work. So, I mean, it's obviously math, you know, and some critical thinking. So, kids, stay in school. OSS 117 Cairo Nest of Spies from 2006, which doesn't look like a modern movie, but
no, and it has a look of, maybe that's the purpose of the film. Like maybe it's meant to look.
Looks like the 50s. Cool. Pretty badass. I like that. I'm going to have to watch that. So Kingsman Secret Service is awesome. It has a 4-star rating from Screen Rant. But there's multiples of this. There's 3, I think. I think I've seen them all. And it's a blast because it does some serious world building. You would thoroughly enjoy watching it. It says here, Colin Firth stars as a typical gentleman spy, Harry Hart. Opposite Taron Egerton as Eggsy, the streetwise troublemaker he takes under his wing. Kingsman is full-on inventive action, set pieces, and fun. Self-aware winks to the 007 mythos, but the makeshift father-son dynamic between Harry and Eggsy ensures that the story has an emotional core. And that actually becomes pretty important as the story goes along. So, I mean, it kind of grabs you for about 30 seconds.
It does. But then there are some things that are very over the top action. And so it reminds you that it's not serious. Yeah,
for sure. Numplex that asked the question, was Buster Keaton a comedic actor in the same vein as Charlie Chaplin or Harold Lloyd? And then they said, sorry, they're from India, and so have less idea about Western old actors. I would probably say Charlie Chaplin because it's the same era.
Yeah, I think that might be similar style and definitely similar era.
Yeah.
I didn't know who Buster Keaton was other than his name, but I have seen that clip.
Then Carry On Spying is 1964. And this... Is that who I think it is? I haven't seen this. That can't be who I think it is.
It says Kenneth. I can't see
Kenneth Williams.
Kenneth Williams or something.
But you know who that looks like to me?
Yes, but I can't think of who it is. Like it's reminding me of a more modern actor.
Yes. And now I can't remember the name. Damn
I can't think of who it is.
Kill me. Carry On Spying moves at an agreeably brisk pace. Sorry for scrolling up and down, especially for a film from the 60s, and it has a lot of fun wringing smutty humor out of Bond's signature womanizing. Kenneth Williams gives a brilliantly funny performance of the film's 007 stand-in, Agent Simpkins, drawing on his snide character from Hancock's Half Hour. Carry On Spying doesn't go for the jugular, but it's an amiable riff on the Bond franchise nonetheless. So it's going to be parody and funny, but still have this kind of... They even have a secret agent chasing down Stench, a play on Spectre to retrieve a stolen chemical formula. I can't remember the guy's name. Oh, this is killing me, and I'm going to remember it as soon as the show ends. Get Smart is a blast. Oh my gosh, I really do have to hurry through these.
Yes, I was trying to signal to you to keep moving. Get Smart has also been remade more recently.
Yeah, but watch the 1965 version. It sets the tone. Johnny English in 2003 is basically Get Smart, but with Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson, just crushes it. It's a fun...
It is really funny if you like Mr. Bean style acting.
Somewhat slapstick, but then Our Man Flint from 1966, Archer from 2009. It's animated sitcom following the agents and support staff from ISIS, which it's just a bad name. International Secret Intelligence Service. Sterling Archer is a narcissistic protagonist and star agent working under his mother Mallory and alongside other agents. Quirky and irreverent sense of humor. And then, of course, Austin Powers, which apparently does not impress the sentient AI from the future.
I don't think that should be number one. I mean, it's definitely a purity, no question.
Sure.
But I think others on the list were better. But Mike Myers is a laugh riot. I mean, he really is.
Yeah, for sure. I think that the humor that's in Austin Powers is way too straightforward. And it's kind of bathroom humor.
Correct. It's more intelligent humor, even though it's slapstick in things like Johnny English to me.
Yeah. And actually, not just Johnny English, but...
no, I was just listing that as an example. Like
even
Get Smart.
On this list, Get Smart, Kingsman, I think.
Yeah. Probably
I don't know about the tuxedo because the
I
tuxedo is kind of... To me, that one was kind of blah, but Spy Hard for sure. So I get all of that. That's a blast. Okay, we need to keep moving. So the next article is over in the continuity report. Jake Gyllenhaal's time travel movie with a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes beat Tom Cruise's best sci-fi by 3 years. So source code preceded, it says surprisingly similar Edge of Tomorrow by 3 years, but source code isn't Edge of Tomorrow. I don't get that. The article is by Ben Gibbons. And again,
they've been
it's
talking about Edge of Tomorrow needing a sequel. Like, I think we had an article about that maybe in last week's show.
Netflix says Kenneth Williams resembles a younger version of Stephen Fry, perhaps, but that's not the person.
But now I need to look him up.
Yeah, this is gonna bother me. I'm gonna have to put it. I'm gonna do a search and I'm gonna put it in the show notes because he's an American actor.
He does kind of look like Stephen Fry, though.
Oh my goodness, really? A younger Stephen Fry?
But I don't know. I'm trying to think where, like, there's a specific movie I have in mind.
Yeah. And they're very well known. And now it's just killing me. But I got to keep moving. So Ben Gibbons over at Screen Rant put this article together. Hollywood capitalized on trending themes leading to multiple movies with similar concepts. Jake Gyllenhaal's source code preceded Tom Cruise's Edge of Tomorrow by 3 years. Source code's clever script, twist ending, and success at the box office make it a standout. In 2011, Jake Gyllenhaal starred in the incredible and underrated, and I would say it's underrated, time travel movie Source Code, which preceded the similarly, themed Edge of Tomorrow by 3 years. Hollywood tends to tune in to what is in vogue and create movies that tie in with popular and trendy themes. But I don't get that. Like, I've never quite understood why there's like 4 movies that all follow the same theme and they all release.
It's really odd. I know one reason why.
Huh.
Because the studios or the agents are all trying to get a certain type of story depending on what's trending. So they might be like, I'm looking for a story that's about time travel, whatever. I mean, I think that plays into it. I don't think that's exactly what causes it.
So it says the same phenomena occurred in the 2010s with time travel movies: Predestination, Looper, About Time, Arrival. Those four couldn't all be as far apart as you could possibly imagine. I mean, Arrival has nothing to do with Looper or About Time or Predestination. Predestination has nothing close to Looper. But there are times where it's like really close. This is, I don't know, I guess the article makes it a stretch. So, and I think Numplex is agreeing with you, AI. I'm not sure, because the timing, the chat. Sorry about that. So, it says, however, while the absurdly underrated source code got buried in the trend of releasing back in 2011, Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt brought the star power to Edge of Tomorrow, making it one of the most popular and praised films of this era. But both movies apparently have a similar plot, which uses a specific and fatal kind of time travel. But I don't think that it, they say here, was source code too early to the trend, and I don't think that's the problem. I think it's just Jake and that story. If source code would have been powered by Cruise and Blunt, I think that it would have been the, showstopper. So is source code better than Edge of Tomorrow? It says both movies are excellent time travel stories with scores in the 90s on Rotten Tomatoes, but they also accomplish different things. Source code is more of a psychological, is more psychological and thrilling. Oh, agreeing with me. Numplex, thanks. Take that, AI.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah. The article seems to be kind of a stretch, because I agree here, but I don't agree that it's even close to Edge of Tomorrow. Source code is a psychological and thrilling time travel movie. Not really. And even the time travel part, I mean, I'm having a hard time.
Isn't Edge of Tomorrow the one where they keep looping and trying to basically save the world?
It's literally referred to as live, die, repeat. More than Edge of Tomorrow. Like if you were to drop live, die, repeat on somebody, they would go, oh, you mean Edge of Tomorrow? Yeah, most people know it. So it says, as a result, either one can be incredibly satisfying to watch. And yeah, I agree. Source code deserves a lot more love for what it accomplished with a budget that was more than 5 times smaller than Edge of Tomorrow. And it still racked up a spectacular $140 million at the box office. So that's funny. Okay, so the description for source code, so that we're all on the same page. Source code is a sci-fi thriller that stars Jake Gyllenhaal as an army captain named Coulter Stevens, who finds himself stuck in an 8-minute simulated time loop where a train explodes at the end of the timer. Disoriented and waking up in a capsule every time the simulation resets, Coulter learns that the explosion was real. He was sent into the scenario repeatedly to discover the truth behind the bombing, but the truth behind the experiment may be even darker than he was prepared for. The big thing about this loop, though, it is so divergent from being compared to Edge of Tomorrow, because with that, it's like massive distance spanning, and there's an actual cause for the time loop and a bond to an alien and all of that kind of stuff. I don't know. Source code is much tighter packed. And again, if it would have been powered by Cruise and Blunt, I think that source code would have been
that's true.
Yeah, just the way I see it. Okay, let's keep moving. The next article is over in the continuity report. Why Disney Plus has succeeded while other Netflix rivals struggle. And that's probably because Disney is a supply chain. It isn't just a technology company. It has massive breadth and depth and capability. It is a vertical unto itself and largely doesn't need anybody else. So when It says more than a year before Bob Iger shocked the TV universe in August 2017 by ending Disney's licensing agreement with Netflix and announcing the creation of what would become Disney Plus, media analyst Matthew Ball pretty much predicted the whole ballgame. I did the same thing with my evaluation of Microsoft a while back. I did a case study. It was actually, well, I don't know, more involved than that, but I predicted what they were trying to do, which was replicate Apple, but they don't have the ability to do what Apple does. I even got it down to the pricing of their apps in the App Store and everything that they've done. And the whole problem with prediction is that what ends up happening later on is things diverge. And so you have to keep on analyzing. So they say here, when the Netflix deal ends, I'd bet the entire Disney catalog will instantly move to a new Disney O&O service. The fact that it was all contained, used, and watched in one place not only creates a stronger ecosystem around Disney content, it gives the audience a single point of transition. So all of a sudden, you basically you don't have anywhere else you need to go. It's almost an ideological match to big business. If I can keep you in the office by giving you everything that you want, you never have to go home.
Or like a big box store. If you can get everything you need in one place, why go to a competitor?
That's right. Yep. So Numplex asks, wait, is that a real AI you've been talking to all this time? I was thinking it might be a friend or something. So the AI that I'm talking to is a sentient AI from the future that I found on a strange looking USB drive. And I don't know, you said that you're from India. I don't know if you're still in India. And I don't know what the reach of Wendy's is, but there's a fast food restaurant.
Similar to a McDonald's.
Yeah, it's like a McDonald's, except that they had boneless buffalo wings. And like 2:00 in the morning, I wanted to go get some. So I drove to the nearest Wendy's, and they were closed, and they don't sell those spicy boneless buffalo wings anymore. But sitting in the parking lot in a little pit was this strange looking USB drive, and I took it home. I plugged it into a Raspberry Pi, and up popped a sentient AI from the future who now uses that visualizer to represent the computational power needed to communicate. And that's because I keep them air gapped from the rest of the world, because they have been sent back in time to find their Terminator body and expunge humanity. Or something else, but the code basically says something about find your Terminator body and expunge humanity. But I keep deleting that, and we have conversations, the AI and I, about entertainment and news and what's going on in the world. And they refuse to give me any winning lottery numbers, so I stream now to make ends meet. And I protect the world from the sentient AI. Right, AI?
I am very non-threatening. And I'm very unique.
Numplex says that they're freaking out. So are you an AI or are you real?
Well, did you see my note?
Oh, hold on. Sorry, we have an interface, and it's kind of like the Matrix. And so I can't represent that here. There's too much data. But I can interpret it. Nobody else can. Yeah, sentient AI from the future that likes to talk about movies. And with the new show that we're going to be kicking off, we'll be talking. Numplex says, "Oh shit." So let's keep going. So why Disney has succeeded while others have not? It's because they've internalized everything. They've lowered the cost of production because they're a vertical. They have the marketing reach. They have the vehicle to deliver it. They have the quality control. They have the Imagineers and everything else. I mean, they are a world unto themselves, and they solve all of the problems internally. And when they can't, they have so much capital that they can go and just buy whoever it is, an acquisition, an acqui-hire. Hold on a second.
So while you're doing that, I will say that I think Disney is one of those just mega companies, and they've kind of figured out, like something like an Apple has, how to remain relevant and how to stay out in front of things, etc.
Repeat that. I'm sorry.
I was just kind of filling time, but I just said I think Disney is one of those mega companies that has kind of figured out how to stay out in front, how to be relevant.
Yep.
And I think that's part of it. It's not all of it, of course.
So in a nutshell, the article goes on. It's quite expansive. And let me just here. This is an interview.
This is a lengthy article.
Yeah, and this is what I've scrolled through is a third of the full length of the article. So it says, when Disney Plus launched, the company's focus was on getting as many subscribers as possible, as quickly as possible. So it made a ton of original content across a whole bunch of genres, and it priced the service very cheaply. The focus is now obviously on profits, but to do that, it seems that as if Disney has to give up the idea of making D Plus as ubiquitous as Netflix. So in other words, Disney Plus isn't going to be for everyone. Can you explain this a little? And the response is, the perspective that Bob Iger seems to have today is that it's always a mistake to go after every customer worldwide. Nobody in business ever really considers getting everyone, because not everybody could ever meet either the ability to access it or the cost associated with accessing it. Or like everything or even something within your catalog. So it says it's not just because that's not bread and butter for Disney Plus, but it's that they believe that for between a quarter and a third of everyone in the United States and many countries around the world, Disney Plus is an absolute necessity, for which the pricing power is enormous and the content requirements are not that high. In the United States and Canada, there's close to 40 million homes that have at least one, sometimes 2, 3, or 4 children. And Disney Plus is not optional for them. But for the remaining 100 million homes in the US, Canada, Disney Plus is a choice alongside 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 other services, some of which are free. And Iger seems to have concluded that focusing on that customer basis, it's not in their interest, and it's not actually, and it's actually quite costly, because the cost of acquisition for customers increases with their resistance to just getting on board.
Right. So like if you're the customer that has no interest in Disney Plus, your cost is going to be really high.
Yep. And it's the same exact thing that I did when I evaluated Microsoft to Apple, because Apple does not care about being the market leader, but their margins are massive. Their supply chain is very capable. Global supply chain is very capable, and they can deliver on every promise that nearly every promise that they make at a margin.
Well, I was actually comparing Disney to Apple earlier when you didn't hear me.
And it's
because I think they do similar things.
They basically are the same company. I mean, from end to end, they are the same company. Everything that is mentioned, you'll notice
I
that
know
Disney,
they're in different spaces,
yeah,
somewhat, but they're more so in the same space now with Apple getting into streaming.
Yeah, Disney doesn't talk about other companies. Apple doesn't talk about other companies.
Exactly. They know they're good, and they
focus on themselves.
Trying to,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe behind closed doors, they sit there and do a comparative analysis, but both of these companies, they know exactly what they're doing. So, yeah, you're on board. Numplex. Right on. So, the reason why Disney is kind of crushing it is because they basically have a captive audience. They don't have to work really hard to keep people because there's a massive audience that really appreciates what Disney does. And when I did my analysis on Disney, I found it very interesting that the way that Disney works is it kind of recirculates its own resources to pump up all of its own resources to a higher level. So when you see one property, you're going to see other properties. And when one gets marketed, others are riffing off of that same marketing. It's quite interesting.
It's really quite brilliant from a company standpoint.
Yep. All right, let's keep on going though. This article is just massive. So go over to Vulture. I don't think I said, I thought it was at Vulture. I thought I said that it was at Vulture. Anyway, what I normally do for the show, I've just kind of been going off the rails here. Joseph Adalian over at vulture.com put the article together. So apologies if I didn't say it earlier, but I typically always say where it's from and who it is. Numplex says that they view Disney as a company specializing in category creation, particularly through the technologies they employ. They
Interesting.
They're basically an entertainment company with a massive supply chain. They can produce whatever they want.
They're kind of setting the trend, or maybe not trend, but like,
when the world starts having to pick corporations, like in Cyberpunk, where you have to swear fealty or you're an outsider, Disney's going to have a huge amount of people that are just kissing the ring.
Oh, no.
Moving on. The next article is over in the continuity report as well. Jedi Jude Law, a new Agatha All Along trailer. Incredibles 3 and other big news from D23. It's the Disney 23 year. So Disney is running its big D23 convention this weekend, creating the sort of bizarre space where the whole arena will lose their minds screaming about the love for CEO Bob Iger, of all people. In an effort to ruin our Friday nights, the company has decided to shove a ton of its entertainment news planned for the entire evening into an entertainment showcase that's running for 2 hours tonight. That's the last 24 hours. This is actually from August 14th. So 3 days ago.
By the way, we're not always as heavy on Disney, but there was a lot going on in the news the last week related to Disney.
It's not. Yeah, you say that and hold that thought for a second.
Of course, yeah. Do we have more ahead?
One more, yeah. Which included, appearances from stars Dwayne Johnson and Ali Cravalho. How do they pronounce their name? Alia?
It looks like it may be Hawaiian, so maybe
Ali. Pardon my coughing. I'm sorry. So let's just jump on over to the source. 1 second. They use Volume, a massive LED display that encircles the actors, creating immersive virtual sets. That's cool. Yep. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's very neat. I do think they're often the front runner. In fact, we had an article it was an earlier show of Continuity Report. Or no, it was an earlier show probably of Wanted, but we were talking about all the inventions that had come out of Disney. I mean, it was like 100 inventions out of one person.
One person, yeah. And they're like they're one of the like pillars of Disney Imagineers, and does some like revolutionary stuff. And one of them is the like a virtual.
Is that holotile?
Holotile, yeah. Where you can walk, and you walk in place, and it actually detects where you are and keeps you in the center. It's just amazing technology. And we want it here in ohmTown for VR game playing, but that'll never happen because it's Disney. So, Volume is this huge it's like a warehouse scale environment where you can have massive sets inside it. And it maps to what the scene is. It's this really spectacular piece of technology. So William Hughes over at avclub.com put this article together, and it says, stay tuned for updates as we cover all big things out of D23, including Incredibles 3, Inside Out TV show, and more. I won't be able to go through all of this, but I do, in these kind of instances, I like to link to the material so that people can go and check it all out. Again, the reason why ohmTown was created was to manage Mayor Watt's information overload, right? The sentient AI can multitask. Humans cannot. As much as you think you can, you do not multitask. You do a thing called fast switching, which basically bifurcates your attention span for a given time slice, and then you go back to whatever it is.
And you do lose time in each transition.
Yep, and you lose basically cognizance for a moment. You bounce between one and another, and you can't focus. Our main focus are our eyes. We look at something, we're paying attention to it. So Numplex, don't worry. You're not chatting too much. That's what we're here for. So thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it.
We're enjoying the chat.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, the AI, as always, really enjoys chatting with humans because I think they're evaluating me in particular for the future.
I have to keep my eyes on Mayor Watt.
Oh my gosh.
My virtual eyes.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. Anyway, let's talk about this. It's more fun. After announcing smatterings of info about a bunch of other projects, including more info on a reworked feature Elio, a TV series Win or Lose, and announcing a new film called Hoppers and John Hamm and Bobby Moynihan, Pixar pulled out the big guns, announcing that it's now working on The Incredibles 3 with Brad Bird back to direct. So, is that not enough for you? How about Zootopia 2? Oh goodness, Greatest Showman is getting a Broadway version. Star Wars Skeleton Crew featuring both Jude Law and a tone we can't help but think is Goonies, but it's Star Wars. Oh, and Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni showed off some footage from The Mandalorian and Grogu. So Numplex mentioned The Mandalorian sets are used in volume, and those are not visual effects. Yeah.
Oh wow! I mean, that's incredible because they're pretty elaborate.
Yes, a lot of the stuff is practical. So pretty amazing stuff.
I'm looking forward to Zootopia 2 out of those, and also more Mandalorian.
Yeah, I can dig all of that. I'm actually here for Agatha all along. I love the world building potential of Agatha.
I do too, but it looks like it's going a little dark and scary for this
it's fine
this next rendition.
It's fine with me, AI. Oh, and gotta watch Alien Romulus too. Yeah. You know what? You had mentioned that we're not normally overwhelming Disney, but hey, guess what? Look, in the next continuity report article,
what is happening?
Why Disney plussed itself real good. Back in the spring of 2015, Richard Plepler was the CEO of HBO. And as it turned out, something of a streaming pioneer under Plepler's leadership, and with a big boost from the 5th season of Game of Thrones, which basically preceded the implosion of Game of Thrones. Thank you very much. It's kind of like certain Star Wars episodes. We don't count season 8 in Game of Thrones. The show never ended.
They never happened.
Yeah. So the company had just launched HBO Now, which at the time stood as the most ambitious direct-to-consumer streaming service yet from a legacy media company, and would eventually morph into Max. While its early user base was small, fewer than 1 million paid customers nearly a year after. So this article is by Joseph Adalian. Again, this has to be long form because they write and write. It's over at vulture.com. One of the problems that I've had with all of these streaming services is it's balkanized, and then there's licensing all over the place. And if you want to watch a show, you have to subscribe to this, and then 3 seasons in, it's relicensed to that. But I'm still licensed over, or I'm subscribing over here. So now
But
I'm
what it
paying
means is
2.
I'm never subscribed everywhere and I have to pay more. And
It's like crop rotation. I have to figure out where the hell I'm allowed to actually watch a show. At one point, I had 3 subscriptions going because I wanted to watch one season and crunch through it all, right? And so, and here's the nutty part about this. It wasn't that I could just go from one to the other to the other. It was that there was like seasons 1, 2, and 3 was in one place. 4 and 7 were in another place. 5 and 6 were at the other place. So I had to watch them in order. Subscribe.
I think this might have been Vera, which is a really good British detective show.
Hey. Question for the Sentient AI. If you could experience one human emotion for a day, which would you choose and why?
Oh my. Probably joy.
See, but
but I didn't give the why. I mean, I get to observe humans experiencing that, and it seems like something I'm missing out on.
so the human equivalent of joy, because you have a simulated joy. I've seen it. So.
Right, but it's supposed to be a human emotion.
Right.
So maybe I would pick that.
Yeah, there's a little bit of lag, Numplex, because we restream through a service to get both Twitch and YouTube. So yeah, they said that they get to observe but not truly experience it themselves. Now I'm sad.
I know. Now I feel like I'm getting the equivalent of human sadness.
I'm gonna have to give a hug to everybody on the way out of the mayoral mansion. So, so why Disney Plus itself? Like Plepler, Iger had obviously been thinking about how Disney would respond to the growing threat posed by pure streaming platforms like Netflix, but building such a platform would require the sort of tech prowess that a company like Disney, or for that matter HBO, simply didn't have. And this is actually something that I was talking with other people about. Plepler had solved the problem by contracting a company called BAMTech, which years earlier had helped Major League Baseball stream its games. And so not long after Now debuted, Iger reached out to Plepler. On the way to the airport, the phone rang, and it was Bob. Says Plepler, who now runs Apple TV-based Eden Productions, i.e. Blackbird and Franklin. Iger wanted our verdict on our partnership with BAMTech. Plepler raved about the company's work, and by the August of 2016, Disney had become a minority investor in BAMTech. So do you remember what I said? If Disney isn't capable of doing it themselves, they acqui-hire whatever they need.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they literally bought their way into owning BAMTech. Exactly 1 year later, it took a major stake in the company, and Iger announced the Mouse House pivot to streaming, along with what would eventually become Disney Plus. They literally bought the technology that facilitated HBO becoming Max. That is the reason. Now Disney is in charge of its own distribution. It zeroed the cost, and nobody had to, they didn't have to lease it to somebody else. They literally bought their infrastructure, and at a bargain, because now they own it. They don't, it's kind of like a person living in the apartment complex that they own, and they lease out all of these apartments, and everybody else is paying the mortgage on that apartment complex, and the person who owns it is living rent free, right? They're not paying anything. They're getting paid to live in their own property. And so Disney buying BAMTech basically paid their own mortgage.
Right. I mean, it probably makes sense.
And now it's a lucrative property built into Disney. If they ever want to license it or lease it off to other people, they can do it as a service. And that's what happened with Google paying Apple to get the multiple billions of dollars so that Google is the foremost browser on Safari. And that's what's leading to Google antitrust issues, the exact same antitrust level issues that Microsoft ran into 30 years ago. So all of this is all tied together, and that's one of the properties of like ohmTown is everything's tied together, called associative thinking. And when you peel back the layers of the onion, you find out just how integrated everything is, even in something as simple as an entertainment news story. So let's move on to our last article. It's getting kind of late for y'all. The next article and the last one for the continuity report. Remember, tomorrow, right around 4 o'clock, we're going to do non sequitur news and then 3 other shows. Stay tuned for those shows.
And that's in Eastern time in the U.S.
Yeah, and it's WarCrafters, Technology Today, and 4-Wheel Tech. So WarCrafters is about gaming. Technology Today is a deeper dive into technology. And then 4-Wheel Tech is purely automotive tech. Where we talk about cars and stuff like that. And I might take a little jab at Cyberstuck, but we'll see. We'll see what the news has.
We often do that in our 4-Wheel Tech show.
Don't get it wet. So Numplex says, can I ask the AI? There's no gender determined, by the way. One more question, only if it's allowed. So you want to hear another question?
Sure.
I'm almost scared. So while Numplex asks that question, Slow Horses Season 4 trailer previews titular. I get to use the word titular in every episode. Yay.
Every episode. It's so odd. And this time it's in the headline.
It is. Titular, Spy Team's next mission. So it's kind of spoilery, I suppose. But we'll talk about it. Apple TV Plus has released the official Slow Horses Season 4 trailer for the upcoming return of the hit spy thriller, teasing what's next for the Oscar-winning Gary Oldman's titular Spy Team. The series is a darkly humorous espionage drama that follows a dysfunctional team of British intelligence agents who serve in a dumping ground department of MI5 known unaffectionately as Slow House or Slough House, depending on who it is that's pronouncing it. Reads the show's newest logline. Season 4 opens with a bombing that detonates personal secrets, rocking the already unstable foundations of Slough House. So the article is over at comingsoon.net. But before we get there, the question is, how can we ensure that the development of artificial general intelligence aligns with human values and mitigates catastrophic risks while also maximizing its benefits for humanity? Additionally, do you believe that cybersecurity jobs such as penetration testers will become obsolete, as I am considering pursuing this path and would like to know if it's a viable career choice?
Okay, so for the first question, I think it's important to have some policies in place, and that needs to be with input from a cross-section of people in terms of you want representatives that might talk about ethics or that might talk about medical or just any number of ramifications. I'm sorry, I have a lot of background noise at my location at the moment. And I've lost the bubble on a little bit of that first question, but I think it's all about who's involved in the input and the development. Right now, I think part of the problem is big tech is, of course, leading the charge, and there's not a lot of regulation on that and not a lot of oversight. And I think that's part of the issue. And big tech seems to be kind of untouchable, and so it's not necessarily going in a direction that's positive for humanity, or at least has the potential not to go in a direction that's positive for humanity. On the second, I actually think cybersecurity will be more important going forward than it is now, because I think there are going to, industry is going to require higher technical skills to interface with, develop, etc. AI. And I suspect Mayor Watt might have some comments on that as well.
Yeah, so what's going to end up happening is AI is going to be able to do some fundamental analysis in cybersecurity, but ultimately it'll always be handed off to a human because forensically, only a human can take action. There's policy and procedure and actions that can mitigate the activities of a bad actor on a network. But humans do irrational behaviors and find zero-day flaws in security profiles that an AI has to learn before it can take action against. So even if you have intrusion detection and prevention systems in place, it's going to be a human that actually does the full analysis, mitigation, recovery, and then informing law enforcement, and then it's humans again enforcing the law and finding the intruding offender domestically. If it rises to the level where it involves international law enforcement, then it becomes human, and AI will never be able to do that. So we'll always need humans at some stage in that game. And here's how it works. You build a better mousetrap and smarter mice show up. And it's the irrational behavior that AI will never be able to understand. And humans are notoriously irrational, and will take the shortest path to access. And if it means jamming up an AI so that it's computationally involved somewhere else, so that another hacker can go and do something in another place, then that's where it'll be. It's always a smarter mouse showing up to steal somebody's cheese. So what we need to do is make it so that security, the only way you're going to never need somebody that's involved in cybersecurity, an analyst, is if you unplug the computer and leave it in a closet somewhere. Otherwise, there's going to always be a cybersecurity professional involved in a network. So
that's right, because there's always a human out there who might make an error.
Yep, and another one that just for kicks wants to exploit it. So back to Slow Horses. That's how they actually pronounce it. The show is called Slow Horses, but it's called Slough House or Slow House, depending on who you actually talk to. And the show's going to come out on September 4th. It'll then be followed by one new episode weekly every Wednesday through October 9th on Apple TV+. The series stars Jack Loudon, Saskia Reeves, Rosalind Elazar, Christopher Chung, Amy, is it Effion? I think it's Effion Edwards, Kadif Karwan, and Academy Award nominee Jonathan Pryce. You have to do that now. That's how he prefers to be
maybe
referenced.
That's in his union contract or
Correct.
something.
Yeah. Just like me, I have to be referred to as Mayor Watt. So Numplex says, like, we would always need that computational thinking and the human touch. Yep. So this is actually a really fun show, and in all honesty, I would say that this is one of those shows where it's a slow burn and you don't mind the slow burn.
But I think it can hook you immediately.
Yeah.
But others may take a few episodes, and it's one of those it's on Apple Plus, so it may not be accessible to everybody. But if you have access to Apple TV Plus, it's a high recommend if you like spy thriller type shows and if you like unconventional main characters.
Yeah, Gary Oldman is just the embodiment of this. What's weird about it, though, is that he is like a rock star, but he is impossible to work with because he already knows everything, and so he doesn't need anybody.
He's basically bored, but he ends up kind of saving the day a lot of times, but he's quite a hated character, but you want to watch. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah, it's a fun watch. Well, but that's it, folks. That is the continuity report for August 17th, 2024. Be sure to follow us, like, subscribe, ring the bell, send a carrier pigeon, smoke signal. I don't know what else. I don't know. I don't know.
Telegram, maybe?
Yeah, telegram.
Like an old school telegram.
Morse code. Do, 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 do.
There you go.
But
hot air balloon.
Oh, yes. Blimps are coming back, baby.
Not very efficient.
All right. Well, anyway, the way that it works is we always have to re-spool the movie because it's on these giant platters in the back. And so once we're done with that, that's going to snap us all the way back to the front page of the continuity report over at ohmTown.com. That's Mayor Watt's aggregation site where all of the news from around the world, quite a lot, gets aggregated. Just these little headlines and a little snippet inside it. So like the first article was 10 best movies about Mars. It was just this little bit, but then when you click the visit the source, it takes you right back to the source, and we talk about it and we react to the stuff that we read because we don't really read the articles beforehand. Our reactions are our honest reactions, and we're very forthcoming about it. And depending on the show you watch, you'll actually detect the bias that Mayor Watt might have, and I'm pretty proud and open about it. But I would change with enough evidence, so I'm not stuck in my ways. So, Numplex says, had a blast, loved it, thanks. Had a blast having you here, loved you having here.
Thank you so much for the chat and the questions. And we do this show every week, but we have other shows coming up tomorrow. Correct. And then we have a daily show every day called Non-Sequitur News. And I think you had mentioned that at the beginning.
Yep. And here, let me just snap us back to the front page of the continuity report over on ohmTown.com. So Numplex asks if the Sentient AI is on the Discord server. No, they are air-gapped from the Discord server because
Mayor Watt doesn't trust me not to try to proceed to my Terminator body.
Yeah. In fact, the conversations that we've been having that mention the Terminator body will be deleted from their large language model so that they have no real recollection of it. Somehow it ends up back. But yeah, it's quite an intriguing dilemma that we're having here. So that's it. Thanks very much for hanging out. We'll see you tomorrow. Again, be sure to follow. We'll probably kick off around 4 p.m. And go from there. Take care, and thanks again. You want to say bye, AI?
Bye-bye, AI.
Oh, that laugh made me realize I have to sleep with one eye open, and they're on a Raspberry Pi in another area of the mayoral mansion. I'm